Funny, isn't it? Thank you very much for that very warm welcome. How things have changed.
Just a second, Mr. Farrage. Ladies and gentlemen, one major quality of democracy is that you listen to those, even if you don't share their opinion.
Well, thank you, Mr. Schulz. Isn't it funny? You know, when I came here 17 years ago, and I said that I wanted to lead a campaign to get Britain to leave the European Union, you all laughed at me. Well, I have to say, you're not laughing now, are you? And the reason you're so upset, the reason you're so angry, has been perfectly clear from all the angry exchanges this morning. You, as a political project, are in denial. You're in denial that your currency is failing. You're in denial. Well, just look at the Mediterranean. No. As a policy to impose poverty on Greece and the rest of the Mediterranean, you've done very well. And you're in denial over Mrs. Merkel's call last year for as many people as possible to cross the Mediterranean into the European Union has led to massive divisions between countries and within countries. But the biggest problem you've got, and the main reason the United Kingdom voted the way that it did, is you have, by stealth, by deception, without ever telling the truth to the British or the rest of the peoples of Europe, you have imposed upon them a political union. You've imposed upon them a political union. And when the people in 2005 in the Netherlands and France voted against that political union, when they rejected the Constitution, you simply ignored them and brought the Lisbon Treaty in through the back door. What happened last Thursday was a remarkable result. It was indeed a seismic result, not just for British politics, for European politics, but perhaps even for global politics too, because what the little people did, what the ordinary people did, what the people who have been oppressed over the last few years and seen their living standards go down, they rejected the multinationals, they rejected the merchant banks, they rejected big politics, and they said, actually, we want our country back, we want our fishing waters back, we want our borders back, we want to be an independent, self-governing, normal nation, and that is what we have done, and that is what must happen. And in doing so, we now offer a beacon of hope to Democrats across the rest of the European continent. I'll make one prediction this morning. The United Kingdom will not be the last member state to leave the European Union. So the question is, what do we do next? Now, it is up to the British government to invoke Article 50. And I have to say that I don't think we should spend too long in doing it. I totally agree, Mr. Juncker, that the British people have voted. We need to make sure that it happens. But what I would like to see is a grown-up and sensible attitude to how we negotiate a different relationship. Now I know that virtually none of you have ever done a proper job in your lives, or worked in business, or worked in trade, or indeed ever created a job. But listen, just listen.
Herr Farrage, Augenblick. Mr. Farrage, just a second. Ladies and gentlemen, I do understand that you're getting emotional, but you're acting like UKIP normally acts in this chamber, so please, don't imitate them. Mr. Farrage, however, I would say one thing to you. The fact that you're claiming nobody has done a decent job in their life, you can't really say that. I'm sorry.
No, you're quite right, Mr. Schulz. UKIP used to protest against the establishment, and now the establishment protests against UKIP. So something has happened here. Let us listen to some simple, pragmatic economics. We, between us, between your countries and my country, we do an enormous amount of business in goods and services. That trade is mutually beneficial to both of us. That trade matters. If you were to decide to cut off your noses, to spite your faces, and to reject any idea of a sensible trade deal, the consequences would be far worse for you than it would be for us. And even no deal is better for the United Kingdom than the current rotten deal that we've got. But if we were to move to a position where tariffs were reintroduced on products like motor cars, then hundreds of thousands of German workers would risk losing their jobs. So why don't we just be pragmatic, sensible, grown up, realistic, and let's cut between us a sensible tariff-free deal, and thereafter recognise that the United Kingdom will be your friend, that we will trade with you, we will cooperate with you, we will be your best friends in the world. But do that, do it sensibly, and allow us to go off and pursue our global ambitions and future. Thank you.
BBC Radio 1.
Coming up, we'll hear from Brussels about this.
I said I wanted to get Britain to leave the European Union. You all laughed at me. You're not laughing now, are you?
So, let's get started.
BBC
Newsbeat.
With UKIP leader Nigel Farrage, the man who's campaigned aggressively against politicians in Brussels. So, where's he been today? Oh yeah, in Brussels, in a room full of politicians. He was at the European Parliament for the first time since the UK voted to leave the EU. They were not pleased to see him. Here's Kat Collins.
It's the moment UKIP leader Nigel Farrage waited a long, long time for.
You know, when I came here 17 years ago, and I said that I wanted to lead a campaign to get Britain to leave the European Union, you all laughed at me. Well, I have to say, you're not laughing now, are you?
But he wasn't finished yet.
I know that virtually none of you have ever done a proper job in your lives, or worked in business, or indeed ever created a job. But listen, just listen.
Yeah, that didn't go down too well with his fellow Euro MPs. While some had their head in their hands, others booed and heckled him.
The reason you're so upset has been perfectly clear. You, as a political project, are in denial.
Denial, he said that the EU isn't working anymore and immigration is out of control. And he had a prediction.
The United Kingdom will not be the last member state to leave the European Union.
Despite the insults, though, Nigel Farrage asked the EU to be grown up in deciding what happens next for the UK. He said Britain should be allowed to keep trading with the EU for free when we actually leave, claiming the Union needs a good relationship with us more than we do with them. Yeah, that didn't go down too well either. At one point, the man chairing the debate told hecklers off for acting how he said UKIP usually acts, while Belgium's Prime Minister argued the EU would finally be rid of the biggest waste in its budget, Nigel Farage's salary. Then throw one of the EU's most senior officials into the bear pit. Jean-Claude Juncker said he was sad Britain had voted to leave, but said the will of the British people must be respected. Nigel Farage clapped at that bit. But Mr Juncker was ready with a few jibes of his own, wondering why Nigel Farage had even bothered to turn up.
You were fighting for the exit. The British people voted in favour of the exit. Why are you here?
There was some support for Brexit, though. Marine Le Pen, the leader of France's far-right National Front, said Britain had chosen to do something many didn't believe possible. British people have told the EU where to get off, she claimed, saying the system was based on lies. But it was this Scottish MEP who got a standing ovation.
The people of Scotland, along with the people of Northern Ireland and the people of London, and lots of people in Wales and England also, voted to remain.
Alan Smith hopes somehow, maybe through another Scottish independence referendum, they'll be able to stay in the EU.
Remember this: Scotland did not let you down. Please, I beg you, chers collègues, do not let Scotland down now.
But if you think all that's uncomfortable, spare a thought for David Cameron. He's about to have dinner with other EU leaders. Awkward. It was planned months ago, but no prizes for guessing what they'll be talking about over dessert.
Newsbeat.
Here are some of the words used to describe England's 2-1 defeat